Sadequain and Iqbal. Sadequain's paintings based on interpretation of Iqbal's poetry. A presentation by Sadequain Foundation, USA. Interpretation of Iqbal's poetry. This presentation is part of a series of 13 presentations. Each individual presentation consists of a specific genre from Sadequain's portfolio. This presentation consists of Sadequain's palette, which is based on Sadequain's interpretation of Iqbal's poetry. But before we review the paintings, first a few words about Iqbal himself. He was born in 1877 and passed away in 1938. Iqbal is one of the preeminent scholars of the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. He has in fact been called as the most serious Muslim writer, poet, and philosopher of modern times. He is held in high esteem as a poet and philosopher by his admirers around the globe. Iqbal's poetry and philosophy are mutually inclusive. They do not exist in isolation or in vacuum from each other, but as an integral part of each other. His poetry serves as a vehicle for his philosophical thought. Iqbal's message took a three-pronged approach. His Urdu and Persian poetry represent the most compelling example of enlightened thought, an exquisite collection of motivational lyrics exemplifying the richness of Islamic literature. Secondly, on a different plane, through his probing prose, he maintained a balance due to a paradigm shift in the religious approach to modernism. And third, as a political and social reformer, he rose to his civic responsibilities, which are documented in the annals of socio-political history. A reader of Iqbal's poetry is awe-inspired by its sheer thematic depth and variety. Iqbal was engaged in the intellectual prose that have intrigued the best of inquisitive minds of the mankind for ages. The issues of the secrets of life, evolution, survival, and freedom of the body and soul. In his poetry, he deals eloquently with these and many other issues that concern the human race. In a frequently occurring motif, Iqbal's poetry and prose continuously exhort human beings to a sustained quest to achieve perfection. There are universes that exist beyond the stars. He wrote in one of his famous poems, "Sitaron se aage jahan aur bhi hain." Iqbal wished human beings to embark on a never-ending journey of exploration and discovery, and to this end, he emphasized the importance of relentless action. Iqbal's poetry has been published in Urdu, in Bangedira, Kale Jibril, and Zarbe Kalim. His booklet in English is Reconstruction of Islamic Thought, and his landmark Persian poetry has been published in books titled Khudi and Ramoz-e-Khudi. Well, let's review Sadequain's artworks based on Iqbal's poetry. The images are accompanied by a commentary in the background. Iqbal. Sadequain's paintings based on interpretation of Iqbal's poetry. Sadequain is arguably the only artist of the country whose name is associated with specific pieces of his works, in a manner similar to, for example, Tolstoy's name is associated with his book War and Peace. In Sadequain's case, a mere mention of the ceiling mural of the Lahore Museum, Sadequain's mural Saga of Labour at Mangla Dam, Sadequain's mural Treasures of Time at State Bank of Pakistan Museum, or the calligraphy of Surah Rahman is directly associated with his name. And so are the magnificent and thought-provoking paintings based on Iqbal's poetry. Welcome to the Mystic Expressions by Sadequain, an exalted state that transcends within each one of us. The extraordinary collection of interpretive paintings by Sadequain based on the vision of one of the greatest poets of the Urdu language, Iqbal, remind us that renouncing the seduction and eschewing the allurement of material entrapments can help levitate mankind to an exalted state. This collection of paintings constitutes a singularly unique achievement by an artist at the loftiest of state. The great Sufi saint Rumi inspired Iqbal. Iqbal adopted Rumi's conceptual definition of self-realization and extrapolated it into his inspirational poetry. Sadequain took the page from Iqbal's poetry and interpreted it in his monumental paintings during 1976 and 1977 in the city of Lahore. Sadequain also interpreted Iqbal's poetry in several of his monumental murals. Pablo Picasso said that a true artist paints not what he sees but what he feels. The sumptuous collection of paintings represents Sadequain's perceptions, in which he draws inspiration from the ancient wisdom of Sufi traditions, which for centuries have represented some of mankind's purest instincts. As expressions of mystic vision, these paintings transcend our latent susceptibilities. They hold a beacon to the path of enlightenment, guide through the gateway of spiritual freedom, and provide a conduit to transpersonal truth. And as we gaze at the extraordinary imagery, we are transported to the core of our subliminal state. This visual journey through a blissful odyssey is an unadulterated experience of heightened awareness, as our senses process these mystic images and nurture our experiences for a meaningful life. These paintings reflect various states of self-realization and consciousness. When we are not in control of our intrinsic potentialities, they may stray off the course. But if we reach down and attain awareness of our innermost sentiments, then they manifest themselves in a rapturous passion. Painting, like other art forms, is an expression of feelings and perceptions of personal experiences achieved through a creative process. Artists seek to share their observations, experiences, and interpretations of the truth, and their relationship to the world around them and beyond through the medium of their choice. These works embody preferred idioms of the artist, such as imagery, composition, theme, and tone. All forms of art are meant to connect human beings to each other and to the environment, and thus allow them to share their emotions and experiences. A gifted artist is capable of capturing in a creative way what most people can only feel but cannot express. Human beings are endowed with the ability to think and are blessed with the power of expression of their emotions by means of speech, writing, drawing, and various other forms of the arts and literature. But it can be argued whether everyone who could write deserves to be called a writer, or everyone who could paint qualifies to be called a painter or an artist. A true artist has to think. He should think beyond the mechanical motions to draw. Like the saying goes, paintings should be worth 1,000 words. They should have a story to tell. They should be mysterious, and they should be enlightening. And that certainly is the case with Sadequain.